Let's talk about a few more editing commands. We've talked about dd for delete line, but there's a few more quantities of things we can delete. If I say delete dw, that means delete word. That W is exactly the same as under the navigation. Delete and then a navigation is actually a general principle within VI. I can say D and some navigation and I'll delete that much. I can say D capital G and delete from the current line to the end of the file, for example. There's also a change. I can say CW for change word. We'll take a look at an example of this just so you can see what I'm talking about. If I just type some gibberish, W will navigate these as words. If I go to this one, for example, and I say DW, that word gets deleted. If I say CW, let me do that again. CW, you notice the very last thing I'm going to be changing changes into a $sign. And I can type some stuff, and I can hit escape to go back to command mode, and I've changed everything up to that word. Get rid of that. Similarly, DT will delete to a character, and CT will change to a character. So let's see that in action. Type some gibberish, and let's go right here, and I'm going to say DTJ. And everything from my cursor up to the J gets deleted. Similarly, if I say CTD, you notice I get a $sign just before the D, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I typed 5 twice. You get the idea. I can say DL, and I'm deleting one character, for example. Any of those movement commands can actually come after the D, but the ones you'll use are DD, DW, DT, CW, CT. Get rid of that again. We'll go right here. There are two more that are pretty handy. U will undo the last change, and a dot will repeat the last change. The dot is very handy. Let's say you wanted to add something on every line. You can do the add once, go to the next line, hit dot, do the add again. Go to the next line, hit dot. It's a very handy thing to use. We talked about insert. There's a corollary to insert, which is append. If I'm here on the N and I type insert X, I get an X in front of the N. Type U to undo. If I type A and then an X, I append an X. I put the X after the N. You can pick U for undo again. You can do either one of those. You can do the insert, you can do the append, just depending on where you are on the cursor and where you want the thing to go. And then there are two more that are handy with that. Like we've seen with a lot of the other commands, there's a lowercase version of the command and then an uppercase version of the command that does something a little bit different. An uppercase I will insert at the beginning of the line. And maybe you can guess what a capital A will do. It will append to the end of the line. We've got here escape to enter the command mode. Got a large handful of ways to navigate around in the file. We've got a number of things we can do when editing the file. We've got some things for saving and quitting. There is one thing that we haven't talked about the possibility of. Let me save this before I do anything destructive. :W. We've talked about saving or saving and quitting. But what if you've made a bunch of changes? I'm just going to put that this is stuff I don't want in the file. Maybe this was a lot bigger change than that, because this I could just delete the line and be fine. But I've made a bunch of changes, maybe all over the file, and I realized I didn't want to make all those changes. And I want to quit without saving, because that's going to be a whole lot easier than finding all my changes and going. If I go WQ without doing a save, VI actually will stop me. It will say, hey, don't do that. You haven't saved yet. And it tells me the answer. Add an exclamation point to that. So if I type :Q exclamation point, :Q bang is often how you'll hear it said, I can go without saving. And if I come here, do a capital G to go to the end of the file, you see I don't have my junk there at the end of the file. So let's document that. Quit without saving. And there we go. We've made our handy little quick reference. Now there's something I want to show as kind of one bonus command, and I'll talk through this. This isn't necessarily in our quick reference. You can decide if you want to add it to yours. This quick reference, this is the tools, and this will begin your journey to become a VI power user. There's enough there really to put you ahead of a large majority, if not the vast majority, of VI users. I see a lot of people who don't know a lot of these fairly simple shortcuts to be able to speed up their editing. I want to show you one that's kind of cool. And actually, I did it in a previous video and didn't talk about it. So we'll talk about it now. Think of this as bonus VI content. So we're going to take the Macbeth full. And again, this is just for demonstration purposes. This is not in your working files folder. I showed before we could find the word dagger and we could change dagger to kazoo. Let's talk about that command that I did and what I did. So we did a colon. We've seen colon before. Colon precedes a lot of the commands and opens this little command line at the bottom. And then I did a percent. Percent means every line. So for every line, I want VI to do something. What do I want VI to do on every line? I want it to substitute. The S is for substitute. And then the slash is just a delineator. So I want it to substitute dagger. And then I'd put my delineator again. What do I want it to substitute for dagger? I want it to substitute kazoo. That alone is enough. That command will do it. For every line, it will take the first occurrence of dagger and change it to kazoo. If there happens to be a line where dagger appears twice, it won't do that. So the last thing that I did was I added a G. G says global, if you will. It says do it for as many occurrences as there are on a line. Here's your bonus editing command. Colon, percent, S, slash. That's standard. Then what you want to replace, then a slash, then what you want to replace it with, then a slash, and then a G. And what that will do is it will replace every occurrence of the first thing with the second thing. So every occurrence of dagger gets replaced with kazoo. And then I can search for kazoo. And then we have Macbeth's famous soliloquy, "Is this a kazoo which I see before me, the handle toward my hand? Come, let me clutch thee." Have fun practicing with VI. Use that quick reference, maybe print it out, keep a copy handy with you. You will be well on your way to being a VI power user.